go.
Okay, now, hey, Jamal, I want to pronounce your last name right because I don't want to get into a fight, you know what I mean, where I know I'll lose, you know what I mean? So please tell me your last name.
CHARLO.
Jamal CHARLO is on the...
Sorry I'm so late with this video. I broke my arm like 8 weeks ago, and it's kind of prevented me from doing videos. And if you believe that, I have one of the other 7 or 8 Deontay Wilder-ish excuses he's been using since last Saturday. Some of those excuses, which I'll add on the next video, which will be a conference call Wilder did yesterday. I'm sick of this sport, and I'm sick of doing videos and watching videos of nonsense. Excuse me, because I'm losing my voice, and I don't know how well it's going to hold up in this video. You know, if I was younger and didn't know the sport's history, then maybe I'd be in the boxing video mix and spend more time and resources in this game. I can't do it anymore, and I'll probably do less and less videos outside of posting conference calls, and if I attend a media press conference, and then I might do a fight recap or two. That's pretty much going to be it for me. A couple of years ago, I spent a lot of time and watched a lot of videos of Golovkin fights and Jacobs fights so that I can do this Golovkin versus Jacobs preview. And I had fun with the time it took to do it. And for the past 3 years, I did the Boxing Fan Expo in Las Vegas and talked to tons of boxers and posted their predictions during Golovkin Canelo 2, during Canelo versus Junior, and I forgot what the other fight was. I think it might have been Mayweather versus Maidana. And 2 years ago, December 2016, I did videos for Boxer of the Year, the Fight of the Year, Knockout of the Year, and Robbery of the Year. And I added video clips underneath the video from all the fight candidates, so viewers could see and then choose who they thought the winner should be. And then I gave the winner at the end of the video. And it was fun. I mean, really fun, but it took a lot of work. It took a lot of research. And I'm not going to do stuff like that anymore. And when you see what happened last weekend, it's depressing. And I'm tired of it. If everything was on the up and up, my thoughts would differ, I'm sure. But things weren't on the up and up. And before I get into it, one thing you can be assured of: if I stop doing these videos, it's definitely for the aforementioned reason, not because of YouTube cutting payments or anything like that. I don't really make any money doing this. I see so many channels stop making videos for that reason when YouTube did the payment cut. And I didn't get into it for that. I got into it because I enjoy the sport. But while everyone is saying boxing is growing and it's at an all-time high with the fights that we're seeing, it's dead to me because of the logistics behind it and the transporters of those deliverables, of those logistics. And so I realized over the weekend, I guess, or maybe yesterday, the only way I'm going to find solace is to start calling names out. You understand? I mean, I'm not going to call fans out. If fans leave messages below this video trying to entice me into going back and forth, it's not going to happen. So I'm not going to call fans out. They're fans. They're fanatics. Fan is short for fanatic. I'm not going to call fanboys out. I'm not going to call these YouTube stations out. However, I will call boxers out, and media, and officials out. I have in the past, and I might not have mentioned names all the time, but it starts today. I don't have a large channel or a major following, but it's okay. I'm going to do it anyway. It might be just a little dot on the map, but somebody will listen, and it doesn't mean they're going to do anything, but it'll give me a bit of solace. Let's just put it that way. So I scored last Saturday's event 115-111 for Tyson Fury. Didn't think it was close. Fury boxed Wilder up. He boxed him up. And although I didn't do an official prediction video, if you go back, you'll find 3 or 4 videos where I said, I was teasing my buddy Victor Atkinson. Come on, Victor Atkinson. You know who's going to win that fight. You know Fury's going to win that. And, I mean, I'm not going to search for those videos, but I haven't done a lot of videos, so you can find them easily. At least 3 or 4 videos in the past month or 2. Anyway, part of the reason fans turn away from the sport is corruption. Big part of it. Since the late 80s, or to be fair, maybe the early to mid 90s, people have turned away because of corruption. And there were 2 bad judges last Saturday, and one of which who was definitely paid off. Okay. Wilder lost big, but they gave him a draw and preserved the Joshua fight, the Fury rematch. And the pro Marciano people, they're happy too. See, everybody's happy. Wilder doesn't have a loss. Fury doesn't have a loss. He can go around and now say he's the people's champion. It's still linear. Wilder can say, hey, I won. Everybody knows I won. I knocked him down twice. Whatever. So let's let me be critical of some people here. Okay. Shame on you, Al Bernstein. Talking about Wilder eked it out. Give me a break. Shame on you, Dan Rafael. Now, Rafael's a guy who's been on the books for certain promoters, and I've seen this from him before. The Mike Dallas Jr. versus Dusty Hernandez Harrison fight comes to mind, where he called that fight a draw, and it was far from a draw. Shame on you, Claressa Shields, who felt she had to curse up a storm to get her point across. Fury is smoke and mirrors, she said. Nothing but pity-pat punches. I guess she didn't see Wilder's left eye. She had a tweet after tweet calling Fury's jab decent, but saying he didn't land anything. Calling the fight bullshit. She said Wilder wins the 11th. You find me one person, including the judges, who gave Wilder the 10th or 11th. Shame on you, Rosie Perez, for questioning a draw and giving Wilder, I assume, the same 7-5 score Shields did. So, and a question for those two ladies. So by saying 7-5, what are you saying? I mean, what you're saying is 115, 113 for Wilder, and then take 2 points for the knockdowns and give it to Wilder 115, 111? No. Shame on you, Big George Foreman. Not sure if you were watching the fight or scoring it from your radio. Perplexed. Back to Claressa Shields. So as she continues on her rant, my man Shakur Stevenson chimed in and kind of shut her down. He told her, "You're my girl and everything," but he said she was blind, and in no way in hell did Wilder win. In all caps, by the way, all capital letters. If you go to Twitter to check that exchange out. Then Claressa started to change her tune and say, well, Wilder's style is awkward and not everyone likes it. Then she talked about maybe watching it again, letting Shakur know, okay, maybe she'll look at it again. Then she went on to talk about having her own fight to worry about this weekend, and then just stopped talking about it as others chimed in to give her the business. Take a sip of water for a second here. Shame on Andre Berto. Now, here's a guy who never answers a medium to tough question. So who do you think is gonna win tonight, Andre? Well, I mean, you got one guy who was a knockout guy, and then you have a good boxer. It should be a good fight. It's a good mix of styles, I like both guys. I had a boy who was in Wilder's camp for the Washington fight. I hung out with Tyson when I was in the UK. I was at the weigh-in. I think both guys look ready. Wilder is in tremendous shape. Fury has done a great job to get his weight down. I just think the fight's going to be awesome. And you kind of look at Berto like, look, man, who you got? And he never answers. I mean, it's Andre. The guy just... Anyway, I'm going to give my man Brian Custer a pass. He said he thought Fury won. A close one, I guess. I didn't hear him say it, but I'll take this guy's word who told me it. I'm really seeing a clear picture of boxing channels, boxing fans, and boxing media who are clearly premier boxing jock riders. Shakur Stevenson is on point. Terrence Crawford is on point. I respect at least one PBC guy. It happened to be a guy I like coming in, but he's still a premier guy. But he's one of those... He thinks on his own. like a lot of tweets he sends out. He's kind, he doesn't have a major league following, but and that's Julian Williams, who acted like he knows what time it was, and said Fury kicked Wilder's butt. That's refreshing. That's refreshing. 115, 111. And then you guys' favorite fighter, who probably had an ulterior motive, as if he placed a bet on the fight. Floyd Mayweather Jr. had Fury big, and he got mad and left the arena. And so I'm sure he had a big bet on the fight, probably Fury. And he criticized the judge and said he should be investigated. And speaking of that, I'll also call the judge out who scored it 15-11 for Wilder. Gotta be kidding me, man. You see, in sports, one so-called intelligent person or one big-time website will say something and it becomes vogue. And then everybody kind of says the same thing. You watch videos, you go to Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and it's like just one intelligent sounding person or one big-time website will say something a certain way, and then everybody takes it and says it a certain way. They just kind of say the same thing. It becomes vogue. The vogue thing to do. The vogue thing to say. So I purposely gave it a few days just to hear what people had to say. And it's all the same. That one judge who scored it 115, 111 for Wilder, you know, I don't agree with that. And that's on both sides. That's people who had Wilder winning and who had Wilder losing and who had a draw. They didn't like the 115, 111 for Wilder. So then I go to another video. Man, what's up with that one judge? Then I go to Facebook. Man, that one judge. And everybody's saying it that way on Twitter. That one judge. Everybody's saying it. But you need to remember these names. When you think of Golovkin versus Alvarez 1, you think what? Adelaide Byrd. Everyone knows her name. So everyone needs to know Alejandro Rochin's name. That's Rochin. He's worked about 125 fights this year. 125. So that sounds like a guy who needs money, right? And guess what? He got some extra money last Saturday night. There's a picture on the screen of Rochin. And if you go to his Twitter, you see all this love from him to the WBC and him retweeting Mauricio Suleiman's tweets. And it's like, okay, well, there's a connection. It makes me sick how this sport throws corruption right in the front of your faces. And we got media people who want to be fans of guys they follow and interview at fights. They ask the softball questions. They ask the leading questions and the questions because, hey, I get a chance to get close to Errol Spence Jr. I get a chance to get close to Gennady Golovkin. I get a chance to get close to Mikey Garcia and to whoever else. And it's like, come on, man. Is that what media is today? Just, I'm going to follow you. I'm not talking about following you on Twitter. I'm talking about following you to your fights and just ask these questions that, well, anyway, I don't want to get into it. But it makes me sick. They put corruption right in front of your face. But you're worrying about who you can follow, and who you can interview. Ask dumb questions to. Well, journalists need to call out corruption. This is WBC corruption, and you trust the WBC clean boxing program, I don't care how you score the fight. There is no case to be made for 15-11 Wilder. And don't think I'm totally excusing Judge Phil Edwards, who scored the fight even. Fans are out there. People will tell you, oh, I scored the fight. Come on, man. You're at fight parties. You're drinking beer. You're at the movie theater. You're at the event. How many people have a scorecard or an app and they're scoring each round? So the majority of people see 2 knockdowns but don't score the rounds, and they feel that card is fair. 15-11, 115-111 Wilder, 113-113. Oh yeah, those cards are fair. Okay. Deontay Wilder's body language and responses after the fight told you he lost and that he knew he lost. A few days later, on this conference call I mentioned, you could hear it in his voice. And I'll post the conference call in a day or two. On the call, he said something, he said something along the lines of, after the fight, when, who was it, Jim Gray? Was it Jim Gray that talked to him? He said something along the lines of, he started overthrowing the right hand. Okay. But then he added, and he couldn't adjust. Okay. That sounded like a loser right there. Like I never got it together. I couldn't adjust. Then he said, and listen to this, I think with the 2 knockdowns, I definitely won the fight. I think with the 2 knockdowns, I won the fight. Then he said it again. We poured our hearts out tonight. We are both warriors. We both went head to head, but with the 2 drops, I feel I won the fight. That's a guy who knows he lost. And he's pretty much saying the knockdowns were the difference. Okay, right. You need to know these corrupt judges' names, so when you hear them again in a big fight, especially those who like to bet, you'll know what it is. Save your money. And speaking of money, I don't think Hurd versus CHARLO is a pay-per-view, but if you paid Jarrett Hurd $1 million last Saturday night for a comeback and a tune-up fight, because that's what it was. He had surgery, he came back, and then he didn't come back like, let's say, Pacquiao against a Matisse. He came back in a tune-up. And so if you pay him $1 million for that, how much do you pay him versus CHARLO? At least double that, right? Then you have to pay CHARLO something close to what Hurd's purse is. So all the work and talking during negotiations that Wilder did, and Hurd is soon going to be making money on his level by just keeping quiet and fighting. Hurd versus CHARLO has another pay-per-view written on it. If you have to pay CHARLO and Hurd, and you know now Hurd got $1 million for a tune-up, they're going to say that they can't cover that on regular Showtime. They can cover it on Fox, but so be it. When these networks put the money up, it's not really the promoter, so to speak. So Wilder exchanged a guaranteed $20 million for a guaranteed $4 million. And without corruption, it would have cost. It would have cost him big. And I hoped he would get his ass beat and learn the hard way. What a dummy. I mean, really. He'd have to fight 6, count 'em, 6 times, and at the same rate, $4 million per fight to get what he would have gotten in Hearn's 2-fight deal. 1 fight having U.S. TV rights go to Wilder. Fight twice and get 20+ million. Plus a rematch with AJ, win or lose, and get another 20 million, giving you over $40 million considering TV rights. Over $40 million. Or get $4 million versus Fury. Win, and you still got $1 million less than the $5 million deal to fight a stiff that Hearn offered you. Lose, and oh boy, price goes down. Hey, at least you'll rematch Fury for another $4 million. Deontay Wilder is a waste of his daddy's sperm. And I feel sorry for him. Every boxer gets used, but this guy is getting used big time by about 7 or 8 people, and he doesn't realize it. Win or lose, Hearn will negotiate with Team Wilder exactly how he should. He'll step into the room and say, you overvalued yourself. You got $4 million guarantee for Fury. Take this $20 million guarantee to fight AJ or step off. I'm playing nice, so don't make me angry, or we'll never fight. Sure, he might get double that, which will still be about half of what he was offered by Hearn. You understand? So, in other words, Deontay got $4 million. Let's say the pay-per-view does a certain number. And, I mean, I could see it hitting the $300,000. I mean, excuse me. Maybe like the 300 to 350,000 view mark. Maybe up to 400 or 450,000, which is a decent number. I mean, when you talk about heavyweights, though, it's different. I mean, they're heavyweights. So, that's a good number, but when you talk heavyweights, you want it to be more, because that's what boxing has been about in the past. That's where it's trending up to now, and we'll see. There were plenty of discounted seats also, and all this is going into negotiations. Like, we can sell a fight out in an hour for 90,000 seats. In the UK, this fight struggled as far as ticket sales, and tickets were reduced, and they papered the house up a little bit and got a nice crowd, and they got some walk-up money definitely from a lot of the British. So we'll see. People keep referring to this as a great fight. Once again, one person says it and I hear it everywhere. Listen, it was an exciting fight at points in the fight. A few points. Exciting. It wasn't great. Holmes versus Norton was great. Ike Ibeabuchi versus David Tua was great. Frazier and Ali 1 was great. Foreman versus Lyle was great. And those heavyweight fights were exciting too. They were great and exciting. This fight had excitement in it, but it wasn't great. And I hear people say, people are like, man, this is what boxing needed. No. Tyson Fury was great, with all factors considered. And Wilder also showed some heart, also, as he was gassed and his left eye was closing. But a great fight? No. You had one guy who landed 71 punches in the entire fight at a percentage of 17. 71 punches at 17% rate. That's awful. The other guy, the winner, Fury, landed 84 punches at 26%. That is a fight that had exciting moments, but not a great fight. Let's move on. We saw Alexander GVOZDYK take Adonis Stevenson's title by putting him into a coma. Literally. Stevenson's condition is stable, and everybody thought, okay, good, but no. He's critical. It's wordplay. They stabilized him, but he's stabilized and still critical, and in that coma, that medically induced coma. So he is far, because everybody, once they heard stable, they said, all right, cool. No, he is far from out of the woods. So, and this is what happens sometimes when you let a guy just breeze through. I mean, he's been allowed to hold that belt hostage for like, what, 6 years? Once again, it's the it's the WBC belt that so many of you guys think has more value than the IBF or the WBA or the WBO because you were brainwashed to believe it. A couple of people start saying it, and then that green belt is more prestigious than anything and it holds more value. No, it doesn't. It's more corruption right in your face. You see do you see Dan Rafael writing about the fact that this guy just didn't fight a mandatory in over 5 years? Nope. Remember, Dan Rafael had Wilder winning last Saturday. You're not going to hear that from him. How about Kevin Ioli's punk ass? Is he writing about the corruption? Yeah, right. And let's call out the judges in the GVOZDYK fight too. All right, Jack Woodburn. Remember that name. He had the score 98-92 for Stevenson at the time the fight ended. A scorecard like that isn't a mistake or an off night. It's corruption. That's the same Jack Woodburn who had Jean Pascal versus Chad Dawson much too wide. At least by 3 points more so than the other two judges who were not Canadian judges, by the way. You catch my drift? And he's missed on other fights. You gotta have love for the teddy bear. The teddy bear, Teddy Atlas. If you listen to him in the corner, because the GVOZDYK that fought Stevenson wasn't the same GVOZDYK who fought, oh man, what's my man? It was on the undercard of Lomachenko versus my homeboy, Jason Sosa. GVOZDYK fought what's my man's name? Oh gosh, this is gonna kill me. He fought Unieski, the Canadian Unieski Gonzalez at MGM National Harbor in Maryland. I was at that fight, and by the time the third round got around, GVOZDYK stepped on the gas, and I mean, he knocked Unieski down a few times, and I'm like, okay, I thought I was going to see a faster start by him, and he was very tentative early on, and then Atlas kind of instructed him about moving to his left, which is Stevenson's right, but then throwing that right a little straighter down the pipe when he did kind of plant and throw and then move out of there. I mean, and one of the few guys who literally everything Teddy said, his guy went out and just did it the next round, and he's like, double that jab up, man, triple it up, so on and so forth. And it paid off for him late. I mean, he clocked Stevenson, man. Many people have been waiting for that. Stevenson got stopped before in his career, and he won the rematch. But yeah, so shout out to the teddy bear. Teddy Atlas is back, and he gave great instructions. I'm not sure everyone listened to it. I'm not paying a dime for these pay-per-views. I watched on the Fire TV, which is a little different than the Fire Stick. It's kind of like a square, but not the big square. It's the small square. I can't describe it. It's the one that cost about between like 50 and 70 bucks, and it's made for 4K TV. And even though I don't have a 4K, it has more memory and moves a little faster, hypothetically. So, but the Showtime fight I watched on Showtime, but the Fury and Wilder, I think we had like a Russian, I think it was Russian, that were calling the fight. But anyway, so congratulations to Atlas and GVOZDYK, and look like the teddy bear's back in the game. I wish ESPN would go ahead and make that move and bring him back 100% for boxing. But how about those CHARLO brothers? Huh? They miss a VADA anti-doping test. So what does the clean boxing program do? They fine the CHARLO brothers. Hit them with a slap on the wrist fine, and it's business as usual. Okay, so what does the WBC do? Nothing. Nothing. Let me lay it out for you. Deontay Wilder, protected from a loss, preserving the fight with AJ. Wilder is the WBC champion. Adonis Stevenson doesn't fight a mandatory for over 5 years, which is unheard of. Protected from real matchups. Who was he? He was the WBC champion. The CHARLO brothers, especially Jamal, are suspected by many fans and some media of being on some kind of performance boosters. They miss a drug test. Not one CHARLO, but both. What happens to them? Nothing. By the way, both are WBC champions. Jermell being the real champion in his class, and Young Maul having a bogus version of the middleweight belt. So when you see that VADA clean boxing program enrolled status on BoxRec or whatever other site, it has less credibility than it did in my book. You see the thing in common here? The WBC is in bed with certain promoters. And it's not more, it's not just one. It's more than one. Certainly the boxers I just mentioned, and also the $365 million man, fail not one, but 2 drug tests, and we'll make you the highest paid fighter in boxing today. No problem. It's the sport we love though, right? I'm out of here.